This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's up, WSTers? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with ya. Not quite into the dog days of summer, but a very slow night last night on the sports calendar. But we're looking ahead to the weekend. The National Hockey League draft coming up Friday and Saturday in LA. Dave Pagnotta with all the big stories around the National Hockey League, both for the draft and free agency coming up first today. Brandon Rewucki is going to jump on as well. We'll kind of focus in on the Jets' plight heading into the weekend. And then a little later on, Connor Rabchak will jump in with Michael Remis and a little bit of hoops talk on the Sea Bears, who had their winning streak snapped after a huge win against the league-leading Vancouver Bandits to kick off the weekend. Joey Slattery coming up. The boys will hit the cool bet lines. We'll get our picks for Assiniboia Downs tonight. So we've got a lot to get to, including the fireworks of last night's WST poker tourney, won by none other. I can't believe I'm going to say this. By none other than Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press. I know Remis has something to say on that. Great night, though. Lots of fun. Shout out to everybody that joined us. We'll be doing these on a monthly basis, so if you weren't able to join us last night, stay tuned. We'll let you know when the next event is, and hopefully we can keep on growing. It was a hell of a lot of fun last night, with the exception of a couple of brutal beats that took the hosts of this show out of said tourney. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, I'm sure he's got a take or two on last night. Huge thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet Canada, who are also presenting CFL 110, which is live right after Winnipeg Sports Talk today with myself and Jeff Hamilton. All the big stories coming out of Week 3 in the Canadian Football League, heading into Week 4, which of course starts right here in the Peg. With Schickster. That was Hammer. Boo, he took me down. Yeah, he took a few people down last night. Of course, Princess Auto is where CFL Week 4 starts. Bombers and Elks. Bombers have opened as 9.5-point favorites at CoolBet in that game. But a full CFL 110 episode live on WST immediately following the Daily Show, which you're watching right now and is officially underway. Of course, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, and Ben Moss, Canadian Club, St. Patel Dental Center, Manitoba Battery and Rollies Transfer, F Apparel, Aikens Lake, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day, and of course, do a little fan feedback for fansfirst.ca as well. Let's get Michael Remis in here as we welcome everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Remo, a lot of fun last night, but as inevitable in poker, sometimes the cards don't go your way. And it is our friend the Hammer who took a lot of people out last night, including you.
I'm trying not to be mad about it. I was like, you know what? It's poker. Sometimes, you have better odds when you make your play, and you're not going to get the cards. That happens. But for time after time, for Jeff to be as aggressive as he was, and he kept getting called, and he kept, as Eagle Eyes says Jeff, the biggest luck box. It was crazy, the run he was on. I do think he played well. He's very aggressive, but you do need to get the cards sometimes, and he seemed to get them all the time. So congrats to Jeff. He made the plays. He won. I was trying to get over it. What did I have? I pocket aces, and he called me with a pair of eights and got his third eight. Like after we both went all in, it's fine. I had a lot of work I needed to do, like get ready for CFL 110, which will be playing. So I was over it. But now you're bringing it up again, and I'm so mad. I was playing as good as I had since I got second that time.
I got to give a shout out to Eagle Eyes, who's played in a number of our tourneys before and is very active over at Cool Bet. He was the one that got the $100 bounty on my head. And again, it was a tough beat. I had pocket eights, got the 8, and then found out that he had pocket aces and got the ace as well. So bad timing for yours truly. Went back in though, had a lot of fun. But I do want to congratulate Jeff, obviously, and Alexander and Spikian and AA and the Hammer were the top 2 finishers. So they both made some money, obviously, at the tourney. But they are also going to be in the finals for Canada for the Coolbet Poker Open. Maybe we'll have the Hammer representing WST out in Estonia in the middle of August. That tourney's coming up, I believe, for those that were asking, I believe on the 15th. I think there's some other qualifiers, and I know that our pal Pat Mayo, who's another Coolbet ambassador, is going to be doing a similar tournament like we did. I may have to go in that one and try and get in that final, but there will be more chances to do it. But stay tuned to Winnipeg Sports Talk and our socials. If you do like playing online poker, we're going to continue to grow this. We had so much fun last night, and nice to see Alexandra and Jeff play the way they did and now move on for a chance to win just an absolutely incredible trip over to Europe for that big poker event between the 11th and the 17th of August. Remo, outside of the poker, which I will admit kind of dominated my evening from 8:30 on, was one of those weird nights. And usually we get these more kind of in July and into August, but the Jays weren't even playing last night. I mean, it was an incredibly quiet sports night, which did give a chance to do a little channel surfing and check a few of the Major League Baseball games that are out there right now, but seemed like it was a very quiet recovery day, both for everyone from the NBA Finals, from the Stanley Cup Final, the Panthers party, Thunder having their parade today, if we want to touch on that. But now, as we'll talk with Dave Pagnotta, I think a lot of intrigue around the National Hockey League and a number of general managers as we get closer to the draft. Might there be trades? And specifically with the Winnipeg Jets, you wonder what discussions are being had behind the scenes right now with the availability of that first-round pick and the Jets seemingly in win-now mode post-Jonathan Taves signing, looking to continue to add to that forward group, preferably at center with the impending loss of Adam Lowry for 1 or 2 months next season.
Yeah, not a lot of games on. There was the Calder Cup final. Shout out to the Abbotsford Canucks taking that down. Huge celebration in Abbotsford. I think there's more people there than are at the OKC Thunder parade right now, but we are staying tuned to the NHL hot stove. I'm refreshing Twitter/X nonstop. Reports from all the insiders. What names could be moved. Mitch Marner, the biggest free agent. Will Florida be able to keep all of their big three? Who will be the odd man out there? But here with the Winnipeg Jets, Nikolai Ehlers, is he going to be on the move? And if he is, are they going to be able to replace him? Or who will they get to replace him on the wing? Sounds like, you're going to have, when everyone's healthy, Scheifele, Taves, Lowry down the middle, Nemestikov as well. I'm curious if Kevin Cheveldayoff...
Hey, let's not forget about Morgan Barron.
Oh, yeah, Morgan Barron.
Vlad, to me, is a player that might not be playing center next year. I mean, if those players are all healthy. Now, listen, and here's an interesting one. I'll be interested in your thoughts. Let us know in the chat. Is Morgan Barron better off, Reem, playing fourth-line center role? Or is Morgan Barron better suited playing more in the top 9? I was really impressed. Post-trade deadline when Morgan Barron went into the center position, I thought that the Jets got more out of him and really unlocked another level of Morgan Barron's play. And, I do think that if he came into training camp being part of the squad at center ice, there's some real potential with Morgan Barron to turn into someone that at least in the bottom six can be productive, can do a lot of the things that Scott Arniel likes. I mean, he's got the speed, and we've seen that with that size. I mean, he's willing to take the puck to the net, scored a couple beautiful goals that way. I kind of think that Morgan Barron has a bright future at center as well. But I think the one thing we do know, you can't have enough players that can play center ice. The Jets really didn't have that last year. It's great to add Taves to the mix. You hope you get Lowry back, but some of those players can play wing if need be. If the Jets have the opportunity to significantly upgrade that position behind Mark Scheifele, I still think they have to try to do everything they can.
Yeah, especially with Adam Lowry out, and I think maybe we're underplaying the unknown there, how he's going to be when he comes back. Like, will he be at 100% right away? We don't really know. I mean, he's having big surgery, hip surgery. He'll be out for a 6-month recovery here, so we're expecting like December, January, he's back. So as long as everyone's healthy in April for the playoffs, that's what matters the most, but you can't get to the playoffs without playing well in the regular season. So yeah, we got our eye on the Jets here. I haven't seen their name mentioned by any insider lately. It's a lot of Vegas that tweeted out just like the eyes emoji this morning. I don't know what they're up to. Toronto seems to be interested in every player. And again, Mitch Marner, we did have the news that the Rangers are giving the 12th pick this year to the Penguins. That was the pick that what the Rangers traded in the JT Miller deal, and then Vancouver flipped that pick to Pittsburgh for Marcus Paterson, who they re-signed. Not a lot of player movement today. We had the Zegras trade yesterday.
Hold on a second. I didn't follow that. So the pick went to Vancouver from the Rangers in the JT Miller trade. And then the pick,
I think from the Rangers to Vancouver.
Yeah, sorry, from the Rangers to Vancouver in the JT Miller trade. Then they flipped that pick to Pittsburgh in the Marcus Paterson trade.
Yeah.
So now what's happening to the pick? It's going back to the Rangers where it started?
No, I guess it was the Rangers had until tomorrow to inform the Penguins if they were going to keep it or give them next year's pick.
I got you.
Because next year's pick would be unprotected. So they gave them so it's the 12th. So the Penguins have 11 and 12. Could they make moves? What are what are they going to do here with Crosby's final years? It's getting sad watching him toil away on a team that's so far away from the playoffs, Huss. It doesn't seem like it's getting any better there. And Erik Karlsson's a name thrown out there. I'm sure Dave Pagnotta will be able to weigh in more, but did they trade him and retain some salary there? Well, we'll see. I saw Elliott was saying, there could be some fireworks. You see that every year. We'll wait and see. I mean, this is a big week. This was the Dubois week. I see Les Thompson noting in chat it was a couple years ago today that Barry Trotz said no to the Winnipeg Jets while we were live at Little Brown Jug, and you could see the air get sucked out of the building.
That.
Yeah, I forgot.
The irony of that happening at that moment. When you think about the offer of the free beer for life and how viral that went, for us to be doing a live show at Little Brown Jug in the shadows of the mountain of beer that was waiting for Barry Trotz, and to get the no on that, I had totally forgot about that. That is one of the more notable live moments in the history of Winnipeg Sports Talk in our 4+ years. And by the way, speaking of that anniversary, Les, happy birthday to one of our most loyal supporters. Great to see you at the ball game on Thursday, and I hope you have a very happy birthday tonight. But Les remembers his birthday also being the no from Barry Trotz Day 3 years ago.
I wonder if we could make a compilation of live moments, because we were also live, I think the Dubois trade as well was this week. And shout out to the Jets putting out on X with no games. You got to come up with something. It was on this day in 2011 that the Jets drafted Mark Scheifele. And look at this picture with that jersey, which he said in an interview on the old station, that jersey's in his parents' closet right now, that NHL jersey that he wore. And here he is. I actually found my own pictures from that too. A very young Pat Steinberg.
Look how young he is.
In the back.
Steinberg too?
I got to pull up this picture that I'll find my picture of his press conference. But me and Ezra Ginsburg and I took that in Minneapolis.
Yeah, you guys were there, boots on the ground in the Twin Cities when the Jets made that pick. And I'll never forget that. You know, we, Gary and I were at Aikens Lake. And that was at a time before, like internet in remote areas had sort of improved. So we were basically off the grid for the most part. There was a computer in the lodge that we went to afterwards and sort of got caught up on all of it. But probably the last time that we'd been legitimately off the grid during big news time. And listen, that was that magical summer where everything was just happening. Oh, we moved to 1290. Oh, the Jets are coming back. Oh, the 1290 got the rights to the team. Oh, now it's TSN. Like something big was happening like every single month. But the draft was huge, and we were already locked in with people that had bought an auction prize. So that was when we were there. We missed it, but it was cool that you guys were there. And that is still a seminal moment. I mean, the one thing that I always remember firing up the computer at Aikens and watching the pick was, of course, Mark Scheifele was almost secondary in that entire interaction because it was Mark Chipman announcing that Kevin Cheveldayoff would be making the first pick on behalf of the Winnipeg Jets. And at that point, you were there. The Jet fans there lost it, as well as the fans that were in the arena at the time watching for the Jets to make their first pick as returning to the National Hockey League.
Yeah, here's a picture of me and Ezra at the draft there, 2011.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a good one. And where it is, this is Scheifele doing his media after. There's Pat Steinberg. I see Mike Tracos. I think that's Brian Munz's head back there.
That's definitely Munz's head. Munz's head.
So, yeah, cool event. And looking back, what is it, 14 years later? Here we are, Mark Scheifele, franchise leader in number of categories and looking to continue his impact as a new deal kicks in, and we'll see how the team can change here as we approach the draft and free agency. Big weekend. We did get us. They did announce development camp starting. They're getting right to it. Like the draft is this weekend, June 30. Development camp starts. It's just off ice training and then media, but on ice sessions. 9:30 and 10 o'clock. The goalies at 9:30, defensemen forwards at 10. Hockey for All Center with media. So they haven't released a roster. Imagine some of this year's picks from the past, but a nice way to spend Canada Day or 4th of July if you're American at Winnipeg Jets development camp next week.
Yeah, we'll be all over that as well. And as I said, Connor will be out there at times. And he's actually going to be on the program with Michael, so you'll get your Connor fix a little later on today. By the way, just looking in the chat, Ezzy's in the house. What is up, Ez? I hope you enjoyed that photo that Remis just threw out of you. I see Eagle Eyes there. Eagle Eyes, great play. You smoked me last night. Very nice work. And yes, you will get that bounty if it's not already in there for you. Lots of happy birthdays to our pal, Les. You know what? Hey, let me fire out, just while we're talking about this, and again, I don't want to get too... We have to talk about this. There's the potential that Nikolai Ehlers has played his last game for the Winnipeg Jets. So the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray is this for you folks. Whether it's today or whether it's July 1st, if we find out that Ehlers will not be back for Winnipeg, what do you think the best option is to replace Ehlers in the lineup? Are you looking at a player like Brock Besser? Is there a player maybe via trade that would not be as expensive out there that you think could pop in? Is it something internal? I mean, listen, I guess Mitch Marner is the answer, but I mean, the Jets aren't paying $13 million for Marner. So, try it within the realm of reality. What do you think might be the best option for the Winnipeg Jets if the unfortunate happens and Nikolai Ehlers does not sign an extension with the club? Would love to hear what you have to say on that. Let us know in the chat. The other thing about that, Remis, when we talk about what plan B would be for Winnipeg is that as we get closer to July 1st, certainly we saw it last week, we have seen a number of players that have been sort of taken off the pending free agent board, as well as a number of players that have been traded to new teams like a Mason Marchment. So what is the case on June 24th, not necessarily the case a week from today on July 1st?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. Sorry, you cut out in my headphones for a bit for the end there. So
no, I'm just saying that, basically just around this question, I mean, everything is fluid, right? And we'll talk about this with Pagnotta. Yeah. I mean, there's still a number of deals that can happen, but of guys that are in the Ehlers situation or potentially available in trade, where are people thinking that the best option to pivot to is if Nikolai Ehlers isn't a Winnipeg Jet? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look and see. I did see trade boards coming out. Nick Kyprios put his out at Sportsnet. But you're probably looking for a winger, someone who can make plays. He did have, for in the Bring It Home camp, he did have Andrew Kopp on his trade board. Do they try to reunite him with the Jets? Not at that salary.
Yeah,
but, it is fun. It is fun to speculate as he did with Trouba.
With all due respect to Andrew Kopp, and I love the guy, he's not going to be coming in and replacing Nikolai Ehlers in the Jets' top six.
No, he will not be. And when Marco Rossi was a player who we've talked about, and it was reported that Vancouver offered the 15th overall pick for him, that wasn't enough to get it done. As a player like him, get moved. The Jets could use help at center. He certainly produced. Maybe concerns size from some, but we laid it out with Matt Larkin. Was it last week? Made a pretty good case why he could be a pretty good player for someone if he does get moved. So JJ Peterka is a name who's been out there from the Sabres over and over, but just a lot of talk right now. And the only move that we've seen is really the Zegras move that happened yesterday.
Peterka is intriguing. I wonder what the cost of Peterka would be. I mean, listen, Buffalo's not in the business of just throwing away good young players just to get them off the roster. I mean, I think the ask would be significant. But when you look at the production he's had, albeit on a terrible hockey team, I think there is the potential that he could be a player that could turn into, a difference maker and a real solid contributor at that level. Let us know in the chat. I'm just going back. A lot of comments on Morgan Barron when I brought that up right off the top of the show. Let's do a little fan feedback for Fans First right now. Fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market with no added fees. What you see on the site is what you pay. And as we look at another sellout or near sellout at Princess Auto Stadium for the Bombers, good news, Bomber tickets now available at fansfirst.ca. We talked about Morgan Barron right off the bat, and a lot of love for it. Barron deserves to be elevated in the lineup. It's your boy Bruce, more Bear. I don't care how or where, but he needs more ice time and opportunity. Phyllis, let's see what Barron has up the lineup. DMART, Barron with an offseason focused on the center ice position could be huge. And Johnny Bender, and I definitely subscribe to this, I think Barron takes over the third line center role while Lowry is out with injury, and Tyson Ducharme says the same. I have Morgan filling in for Adam Lowry. And then some other guys that, Rob Mahoney, Patrick Kane can replace Nick. That would be something else. Warren Wilson, Jason Robertson. Dare to dream to get Jason Robertson. He's got 1 year left and is still an RFA. I don't expect that he's going to be leaving Dallas despite those rumors early on. And I think it's even less likely that the Dallas Stars would consider trading him in the division to one of their rivals with a talented player like that coming up at only 25 years old. Keep your thoughts coming. Fans First, fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans. No fees. All right, coming up in a couple minutes, we're going to have Dave Pagnotta jump on. Let me shout out our pals at Rowley's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk, family-owned and operated for over 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. If you and your family are on the move, head on over to Rowleys.com. Click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And our friends at Rowley's will turn it around real quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove service that Rowley's is famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, make it Rowley's. Keep your eyes out for that WST truck on the road as well. Snap a pic if you see it. And, of course, Rowleys.com for all the information on that and your next move. A big thanks to St. Vital Dental Center for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. St. Vital Dental Center, full-service dental clinic led by our pal Dr. Terry James and his amazing staff that have been serving Winnipeggers and Manitobans for generations. But now they've got a beautiful new facility with state-of-the-art equipment at 167 St. Anne's with free parking right behind the building to take care of all your dental needs for patients from 6 months to 99 plus. If you need a dentist or it's been a minute since you've been there, find out more at stviteldental.ca. Make an appointment and tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Somewhat of a long weekend. I guess it's going to be a really long weekend. A lot of people are going to be taking Monday off. Canada Day on Tuesday. Not if you're in the hockey media, as we're going to be talking to Dave Pagnotta. But if you are planning for a weekend, head on down to your local Manitoba liquor marts. Of course, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. If there's any Canadian club left in this city after the football game on Thursday, you'll be able to find it at Manitoba liquor marts. But take a look for the new club pack, CC and Ginger Ale, the CC Half and Half, and the Citrus Smash, ready-to-drink cocktails. Unbelievable addition to the summer lineup. Pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And, of course, Manitoba Battery powering us through another summer. They got the cars and trucks through the winter. Now they're helping Winnipeggers and Manitobans save big on their batteries for their campers, their boats, ATVs, Sea-Doos, all the fun stuff that we love to use during the summer. You got to have batteries for. And it is time to quote Ken Wee, but it's a bit of a wake-up call to everyone. Stop paying extra, up to $60 more at the big box stores than you'll get when you shop local at Manitoba Battery. Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, 2 locations to serve you. But they've also got free delivery anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Find out more in store today or order online at manitobabattery.com. All right, we're going to get into some puck talk heading into the draft and free agency. Our pal Dave Pagnotta from the 4th period is on deck. And this segment's brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers. I want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And everywhere you go in the Toyota Tundra, you'll be turning heads. It's one of the most beautiful vehicles on the road. Available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.39% APR with $71.99 down. Hybrid options also available. Find out more and visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, let's bring in Dave from the 4th period. Dave, how are you, buddy? And have you managed to reintroduce yourself to normal life after the grind that was the playoffs and the travel of the Stanley Cup final?
No chance, buddy. No chance. This week is a bit of a grind as well. You got to prep, you got to study because the draft is coming up, and we do the show for SiriusXM NHL Network Radio. So I'll be there. I'll be on whatever the floor is going to look like. I guess, this year at the draft because it's at Peacock Theater and not in an arena. Just gearing up for that and all the activity, a lot of trade talk, a lot of potential free agent talk, and all that fun stuff. So no breaks until like the second week of July.
You know, I envision this weird draft with it being remote and knowing that you and Dennis are going to be there. I envision it like the awards last year in Vegas, where it was in the Fontainebleau, and instead of the chain smokers being in that little balcony, it's going to be Dave Pagnotta and Dennis Bernstein doing their thing, and just the like this is going to be a very different draft, which, I mean, to most people in the hockey world, not too keen on it. But what are you expecting, and how different is this going to be from everything that we've used to, with the draft and draft weekend being really the hockey convention, no matter what role you play in the hockey world?
Yeah, not this year. Not this year. Everything has changed. I'm stage left. That's all they told me. So they've got the main stage, which is where Gary Bettman is going to be to announce the picks, and the kids will be in the back, and they'll make their way through. They're bringing in some virtual screen where the GMs and the management teams of the team that picks the guys, they'll be able to formally, I guess, introduce themselves, and then they get brought on stage. They get their jersey and all that fun stuff. And I'll be somewhere behind that. On the side, I have no idea. We're going to figure that out. I fly in tomorrow. But it's a lot different. There's no GMs there. There's no scouts, no AG.
Well, I think we just lost Dave there for a moment. He got cut up. Dave, you're back. You were just saying there's no GMs or scouts, but I think we may have lost him again. Dave, can we hear you? You back, Dave?
Oh, there we go. Gotcha. Yeah, sorry about that.
You were just saying no GMs or scouts, and then we lost you.
Yeah. Okay. So it's totally different. So there's no, the schmoozing is gone. The trying to figure out things is gone. It's just, it's kind of like trade deadline.
Oh, Dave's getting a call, and it cut him out. Okay, you're back. You're back.
There we go. So this is kind of like trade deadline to a certain extent. You're going to have to be utilizing your phone and being on to try to stay on top of things. This is different than, walking the floor, hearing what these guys are doing and everything. So, different. I don't think this is going to continue. There are teams already like the whole basis of this originally was, we could save a few $100,000 by not having to go to the draft city. We'll just send everyone to our town. Well, that also costs money, and there's that allure for a lot of these guys, for a lot of the like this is their Super Bowl for a lot of the scouts and everybody, and to not have that extra oomph behind it. I think everybody recognized that this is probably not the best idea. So they're going to shift back, by all accounts, to it. But the league is going to wait until this weekend passes, analyze what went well, what didn't, and then decide how to move forward. There are still cities and /teams that are vying to host the 2026 NHL draft. They're going to wait until this weekend wraps before they start making decisions as to where that's going to be.
Well, listen, I think we all would like to see it get back. It's certainly, in our business, one of the most fun weeks of the entire year, and there's so much that happens, which brings us to this week. There's still a lot of business that has to get done. Dave, in the days leading up to Friday and the first round, who are the GMs that you're paying closest attention to, that you're most intrigued, sort of the top of your watch list as we get closer to the draft in 3 days?
There's a lot. I'm looking at the New York Islanders, but not because of the first overall pick. I'm looking at what else they may do. Obviously, there's a lot of attention towards James Higgins. He'd love to be an Islander. They are talking to teams about moving up if he is available. Is there an opportunity to draft him at 3, 4, 6, 8, whatever? So he's busy doing that. They're taking calls on Dobson. They're taking calls on Pajot. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the Utah Mammoth. Bill Armstrong, their GM. Like, he's very active. He's looking to see what's out there. He's dangling the 4th overall pick. They want to bring in a power forward to fit their top 6. So he's part of it. Chicago is entertaining offers on the 3rd overall pick. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at a whole bunch of teams in terms of what type of movement we may see from some of these clubs. Toronto has been poking around and trying to see if going the trade route to fill out their top six is a better approach than looking exclusively at free agency, knowing that Mitch Marner is going to take off. The Montreal Canadiens, tremendously active, trying to bring in pieces that are going to jump in right away and be part of their core there. There are a lot of teams. Like this year, there's always talk. There's always chatter. Everybody gets hyped up. And last year we saw no trades in the first round for the first time in I think that was the first time. This year's different because of A, the cap going up, B, a shallow free agent pool, and C, a not star-heavy draft class. That quality, but it's across the board versus star power. Like next year, they're looking at, your top 20 is going to be impactful. You've got the first 8, maybe 10. Then you've got the next kind of like decent crop. And then after that, it's quality assets, your bottom 6 quality type players. So there's a lot more of a willingness to move first round picks this year and try to get some impact players immediately as opposed to years past. So there's all kinds of variables, all kinds of balls up in the air, which should make it exciting. And honestly, I really hope it is because I just don't know how this one's going to go.
Yeah, well, I think you make some great points, and I think the intrigue in the trade market. I mean, listen, there's always a lot of people in the business that pump up these stories. Oh, this guy could go here, and listen, we're all part of the conversations, and we love doing it. But your point about the very, very lean free agent class, I think, is going to force teams to pivot to trades, and the Jets are a perfect example of that. Like, their huge question mark as to what happens with Nikolai Ehlers. I mean, we haven't closed the door on that, but I think it's more than likely that he is not a Winnipeg Jet post July 1st. So what do? We've talked about Brock Besser and a couple of the other, free agents that they might be able to bring in that could not be Ehlers, but, be top 6 players. But the center position, even with Jonathan Toews, is still an area that I think that Winnipeg and a lot of other teams, we all hear, they need to go and get a number 2 center. Well, guess what? Those aren't available for the most part in free agency. They're very difficult to trade for, and that has made those pieces out there for teams like Winnipeg probably in pretty high demand amongst GMs around the league.
Yeah, there's a ton of teams that would love to get their hands on that caliber player. But like you said, I mean, there's only so many that can go around. I think, from Winnipeg's perspective, I think you're looking at mid-6 wings as primary targets, and I think it's going to be another situation where this is a club that's looking in the trade market to see what's available, what's out there. I think Chevy's been fairly active in that regard in terms of looking to see what assets may be available to him, in that approach, as opposed to, again, a shallow free agent pool. It is what it is. Nick Ehlers is going to July 1. Brock Besser's not going back to Vancouver. Mitch Marner's not going back to Toronto. These guys are going to be looking at other options and alternative options to see, what's available to them. I think Carolina is going to be very active in trying to get at least one of those guys. You have other teams. Like I think Vegas is top of the list for Mitch. He wants to go there. I think they're trying to make that happen in their end before they can formally talk. From a financial perspective, because they've got a little bit of money that they're going to have to deal with.
Let's dive into that. Let's dive into Vegas a little bit more, and that's hilarious. I mean, Vegas always seems to be in on the biggest player, and Mitch Marner is clearly the biggest, most notable free agent. You're hearing that there is a desire for Mitch to go to Vegas.
Yes.
Would he be getting max dollars, or would he be maybe taking a little bit less to go to Vegas? And Dave, the other side of that, what does Kelly McCrimmon need to do to be able to sign Mitch Marner on the 1st or afterwards? And yes, we did see the Vegas Golden Knights tweet this morning, just wishing everybody good morning as only they can.
They love to poke. They really do. Their social team does a good job of that. All right, so there's a few variables here. Okay, A, Vegas is a destination Mitch would want to go to. This goes back to last summer when there were trade discussions between the two clubs. I think LA is another market he would go to, but I think Vegas is number 1. You're probably looking at a contract in the 4 or 5 year range, is my guess, in and around 12 million, 12 and a half. very similar to Mikko Rantanen and what he got in Dallas.
So not 7 years.
I mean, I think that might be on the table for some other markets. I think Vegas is looking at this in that 4 to 5 range. It could evolve into 7, depending on what the numbers. But I think Mitch is probably, at least for Vegas, in that 4 to 5 range. They also have to get Jack Eichel locked in. He's in the final year of his deal.
Yes,
he'll be similar numbers there, around that 12 mark, 12 to 13 range in Vegas, because of their tax-free state capabilities. That's 14 million somewhere else. So at a higher, if he wants to stay in Toronto, it's about 14, 13, 7, 5, 14, something like that. In order for that to happen, first they have to be crystal clear that Alex Pietrangelo is not playing this season, not missing the start of the season, not playing at all. And I've talked to players on the team that have vouched for the fact that, yes, he's been hurt and he's been playing. He played all season with a nagging injury. If they conclude that he's just not going to be able to rehab or whatever, like I've heard whispers he may be done completely with 2 years left on his contract. He may have to, he may not be able to play again. I don't know if it's officially to that level, but if he doesn't play, at least this season, that's $8.8 million. That is going to be, they can utilize from LTIR. They've got around $9 million right now. You're sitting at around 17 in theory that you could play with. It still gives them only $5 million to fill other holes of their roster in their bottom 6. So we're likely to see, even if Pietrangelo is put on LTIR and it's valid, they're still likely to move out another roster player so that they can fill other holes. We'll see where that goes. I've heard Ivan Barbashev's name. I've heard William Karlsson's name. We'll see if it gets to that point. But first and foremost, they need to be definitive with respect to Alex Pietrangelo's health. And if he cannot play this season, they've got that wiggle room.
Dave, what are you hearing about Ehlers as far as, just the teams, the suitors that when given the opportunity will be making a push, and how big might that push be for Ehlers?
He's probably looking at 8+ on his deal. I could see him going full term, which would be 7. I think Carolina's going to be right there. I think they're going to be very much in the mix for him. I think they're going to be in the mix for all. Like I think Carolina is going to throw the most money at Mitch Marner. Quite frankly, I know that's off-brand, but everything that I've been told from that camp is they're going to go hard after him. They're going to give him big dollars. It's going to be up to him to decide whether he wants to go there or not. I don't believe that is a likely case. I don't believe that's a likely destination for Mitch Marner. But let's see what the final number is. That could sway him a little bit. That aside, I think the Canes are going to be hard after Nick Ehlers. I think the Islanders are going to get into that mix. I think it wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers do as well. A lot of teams that are looking to add that extra offense, secondary scoring, and from a second line perspective, I think they're going to be poking very hard at trying to see if they can get Nick Ehlers to come. I think LA. I think they'd like to focus on Brock Besser. That might be a backup. Like plan C for them might be Ehlers, but it might be too little too late at that point. But I do anticipate a number of teams that are going to approach Nick Ehlers as a potential fit. Wouldn't be surprised if the Capitals poke around on that as well. I think a lot of Eastern contenders are going to go after him. But we'll see where this goes. He wants to, see what the market has. And if somebody's going to throw $8-9 million his way over 6-7 years, it's going to be hard to pass up.
I still do. I mean, I've speculated wondering what the response from the Ehlers camp would be if the Jets put the Hellebuck and Scheifele offer on the table for him, which is 8.5, and potentially with that 8th year. Now, the 8th year you need to do that before you get to July 1. That's the thing. Right. Like if you get to July 1, that no longer is on the table. Well, we'll see how much of that third-party tampering is going on, and he has a good idea about what's on the table, I guess, over the next little bit. But by all accounts, it sounds like he is going to July 1st.
The thing about this time of year is everybody also becomes very psychic. And they read the tea leaves, they use their tarot cards, whatever the hell else there is, and they've got a very good idea as to what the options legitimately are going to be, especially over this next week. It's just funny how the stars all align and everybody figures things out. It
just happens that way. Hey, Dave, who knows? And every year it seems to go that way as well. Well, listen, just while we're on the Jets, thoughts on Jonathan Toews' return and doing it here in his hometown?
Yeah.
And just what did you think of the contract? Because I mean, obviously it's low. I mean, I think the Jets would love to pay all those bonuses because it would mean that Jonathan Toews is coming back. And listen, we know he's not coming back. He comes back because he believes he can be an impact player and help a team win. But what did you think about that? And how many teams were involved in Toews? Because we did hear Colorado, we heard Tampa, potentially Edmonton, but it ended up being the allure of coming back to a team that is right there with a lot of opportunity at the center position for him to actually play if things go well for Toews.
Yeah, Toronto was in the mix. There were others. I think Tampa was right down to the finish line. They were neck and neck to it for a certain stretch, and then he decided going home is the best option. I like it. I like the chance. He wasn't going to come back, and he wasn't going to be advised about coming back unless he was ready to go. He's been training. He's been getting ready for this. I think it's going to take him, a month once the season gets started to get his legs back. Once we're in NHL action, forget preseason. I think it's going to be, around November where we start to see what he's really capable of. But I like the addition. I like what he brings to the table on and off the ice. You've got that stability there off it as well in that room. A guy with 3 Stanley Cups, a guy with a Conn Smythe under his belt. He's gone through all kinds of ups and downs over the last, 5 years. So to take that chance, I love it. I like it for the Jets. I think it's also going to entice potential free agents to come by and be there. I think their decor seems to be pretty sound. Obviously, you've got Hellebuck and net. Let's just deepen up that mid to bottom 6 now for this club. And having that presence of Jonathan Toews there is certainly impactful. I like it. And for a team that still is right in there in terms of their compete window being firmly open to add that type of player, and then eventually getting Adam Lowry back in the second half of the season and so on. I think it's a really good fit for player and team.
Dave Pagnotta, fourth period with us. Dave, we learned today that the Penguins will be getting the Rangers first rounder this year, so they will be picking 11th and 12th. Obviously, this is the team that needs to boost their prospect pool, but so much intrigue about what Kyle Dubas does this summer with the veterans on that club and, a team that has now basically reverted to well on the outside looking in when it comes to playoff contention. What can you tell us, or what do you expect from Pittsburgh and Dubas over the course of these next few weeks?
I think he'd like to be active. I think he's trying to find a new home for Erik Karlsson. Excuse me. How much are they willing to retain on his $10 million cap hit? 11.5, but San Jose still leading 1.5. So, how much are the Penguins willing to retain there with a few years left on his deal? There's I think it's a couple of years. Brian Rust, Rickard Rakell, both firmly out there. They've got 3 years left each. Rakell's at $5 million. Rust is at 5.125. He's the intriguing one for me because he's got a full no move that evaporates at the end of the day on the 30th. Starting July 1, he has no trade protection. Rakell has 8 teams or something along 10 teams perhaps on his no trade list. But Rust he's free. So, what type of return can they get for him? He's attracting a lot of interest right now. I think you see some other pieces that are there, like they would move Graves, they would move Achari, they would move Lizotte, they'd move Kevin Hayes, the contract, they'd move some of those pieces. The other thing too with them is, I mentioned contract, there seems to be a willingness from them, and Mike Greer acknowledged this as well earlier today, the GM of the San Jose Sharks. So I think them and Pittsburgh are kind of in the, hey, we've got cap space, we've got room. We'll take your cap trouble if you incentivize us and pay us to do it. But that's another option for Pittsburgh in terms of we're stockpiling their cupboard with prospects and draft picks. They started during the season. Now they've gone out and said, yep, it's a full-blown rebuild. I think that's another thing to look at from Pittsburgh's side of things, is taking on a contract in order to get some additional assets and help some other teams out, but obviously being paid to do so. So I think Pittsburgh, they're the most they're an intriguing one because of really the only official selling team right now is the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they've got a lot of assets they can dangle.
We've heard that this is going to be Malkin's last year with the Penguins. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Sid's got 2 more years. Is Sidney Crosby a Penguin for life? Or, I mean, is there any point on even talking about potential landing spots for Sid, considering how committed he seems to playing his entire career with the Penguins?
Until Sid wakes up and says, okay, I'm over it, let me go chase another one, he's staying. So honestly, to talk about it is almost pointless until that happens. He could wake up tomorrow and say, I wouldn't mind going after another one. I saw what Brad Marchand went through. He's won before. Look at how much fun he's having, probably staying in Florida now. I don't know if that's necessarily Sid's demeanor, his style, his mindset. But I would be very, very surprised still if he leaves, if Chris Letang leaves, Gino's staying. So this is the other thing too. The fact that Malkin is staying this season, I can't see them breaking up that band for at least this season. I can't see Sid or Letang being moved if Malkin is sticking around. This is his final swan song with the Penguins. Maybe he leaves in free agency and goes somewhere else and joins the team, Malkin, next summer, which I doubt. I think he'd probably go back home. But for him to go through a farewell tour, so to speak, and to not have Letang and Sid there, I don't see it lining up.
Dave, you just mentioned Brad Marchand. Let's get to the champs as they still continue the epic bender that they are on as a team that continues to go down. Well, hey, listen, they deserved it.
And good on their medical staff too, because they're keeping those boys hydrated. I don't know what kind of IVs they're taking, but it's a treat to watch from afar. I'm a little jealous. But good on them. They've earned it, and kudos to the Docs because they're busy.
What do you expect the Sam Bennett deal that he all but announced at one of their many Stanley Cup parties? And you just mentioned Brad. I'm interested. I mean, what are you hearing on Marchand? And if he signs, is that bad news for Aaron Ekblad? I
think the writing's on the wall with Ekblad. Unless he wakes up or woke up this morning and says, "Fine, I'll take $6 million a year." It's not going to happen in Florida. I think Bennett, I've been saying this since before the final, I think Bennett's going to come in around 8 times 8 in that vicinity. I still think that's going to be true. He's staying. Brad Marchand, I thought it was 50-50 going into the playoffs. I started leaning 51-49 that he stays once the final got going. I think it's like 80-20. Like, he wants to stay. He likes the guys there. He's clicked well. Can they get the right number?
He also apparently wants big money in like 4 years, reportedly. Like, Florida's not doing that, are they?
No, they're not. But the funny thing is, so there was, and I don't know if this correlates to the 4-year discussion, but he was at Elbow Room, and he was saying, I'm not leaving, and he put up a 4. And then there's a video of later on in the evening of pizza being delivered. And they've got 4 boxes of pizza that were delivered. So I think he was ordering pizza to the bar, being like, I'm not leaving. You go get it. I want 4. And there were 4 large pizzas that got delivered. So be careful what you read in, like what's out there. I think he does want to stay. It's a matter of the number. Can he get $7-8 million on the open market? Yeah. What's that equate to in Florida? All right, would you take a little bit less to stay there? I think 3 times 5 is a cushy number for Florida. I don't know if, maybe they might have to go to 5.5. I think he'd take 6, somewhere in that middle. But I believe there's a pathway to getting him signed and staying in Florida for the next 2-3 seasons. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I think Ekblad's going to market. They've got to figure out Nate Schmidt. They've got to figure out Tomas Nosek. I think they need a backup, so they're going to have to allocate some money there. But they've got $19 million in space right now. Let's say, 13, 14 of that goes to Bennett and Marchand. You've got another 6, 7 to play with.
Listen, Brad can obviously take it to July 1st and see what else is out there if he would like. I have heard Nick Kyprios being very bullish on the Leafs making a big money 4-year offer. If Marchand gets to July 1st, do you think the Leafs will be at the front of the line for the services of the Rat?
I think they'd love to get him. I don't think they're going that high on money, not based off of what they offered John Tavares the other day. 3 years under $4 million per year for John Tavares, who scored 38 goals. That's not going to get it done in Toronto. It's going to take a lot more. So for them to say no to that, but give Brad Marchand $8 million, I just don't see it. I think they'd love to sign him, but not that high. 6-7 range, maybe. 3 years, maybe. I don't know. It's tough to gauge because everything I'm hearing is that he wants to stay in Florida. So figure it out. His agent Wade Arnott and everybody at Newport, they've got to figure that out. So they're having those discussions, and they've picked up this week. But we'll see where it ends up. I mean, again, I would be 0% shocked if at the end of the day both Bennett and Marchand are staying in South Florida.
Dave, listen, I can't wait to hear you and Dennis do your thing for the draft. Just back to Friday night, last one. You mentioned the Islanders potentially trying to make their first overall pick and get another pick or move up to potentially get Higgins. Yeah. Is there any other teams that you think are motivated to make a big splash on draft night?
The similar ones that I rifled off. Utah's looking at doing something big. Chicago's definitely still out there, even though they got Burakovsky. That's like part of their plan. There's a lot more going on. Montreal Canadiens remain active. I mean, Vancouver's made the 15th overall pick available. So, and you know, that was part of a package offered up for Rossi in Minnesota, which they said no to. Let's see. I mean,
you mentioned Chicago. I just want to go in on Chicago because, I mean, listen, a Central Division team, they made seemingly no progress last year. They're third overall. And you mentioned, like, if they trade that third overall pick, are they looking to get better right now? Are they looking for more younger players? I mean, what's the situation? Because it seems like Kyle Davidson, after last year's, feeling a lot more pressure to move this thing along, especially while Connor Bedard is on his ELC.
Well, he is, because they thought they'd be taking next steps already, and they hadn't. They thought they were going to go Ottawa-Montreal route in the West, and clearly it hasn't happened yet. So I believe there is pressure that's mounting on him, which is why he's active in bringing in guys right now. They bought out, I don't know if it's official yet, quite frankly, the buyout for TJ Brody. It's happening, but now that he's cleared waivers, they can wait to announce that. But I mean, obviously that's one step. They bring in Burakovsky. There was some chatter they'll take a look at Ekblad. Now they've got two studs on the right side, kids that are going to come in. But can you bring in a guy that's got two cups? It's going to cost them probably $8 million, $7-8 million. Can you allocate that money to really stabilize your D and have a guy that's been there, won, and can help groom them on the ice? I'm curious about that. Third overall pick, same with Utah. Fourth overall pick. If they move those picks, it's for impact players now. It's not a prospect that's on the cusp and another first round pick. They're looking at immediate impact additions now, which is why those are in play. I think Philly's willing to listen on theirs. I think Boston's willing to listen on theirs as well. You could see a decent amount of movement. It just depends from the Islanders' perspective where Higgins kind of ends up, because there's a lot of talk. San Jose likes Misa. They like Frundell. If Chicago keeps the pick, it's one of the other two kids. Or, Porter Martone, he's the big rugged winger for San Jose. Does it make more sense to go that route and bring somebody in on the wing on either Celebrini's side or Will Smith's side? So a lot of moving parts. If the Islanders do anything, I think it's going to be on draft day, not leading up to it. They want to see where the dominoes fall before they pull the trigger on anything. Dave,
great stuff. Before you guys turn the mics on for draft coverage, lots cooking over at the fourth period as the intrigue builds towards some of the biggest days in the hockey off season. What's cooking?
Yeah, we're staying on top of all of that. I fly out to LA. I get there in the morning. DB and I are doing a hit right off the bat to give you whatever the latest is over tonight and tomorrow morning as well. We'll be keeping tabs on draft activity, on trade activity, potential free agent movement. Buckle up. This next week is going to be interesting. Not just going into the draft. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of activity. but also in and around July 1. For teams that lose out on free agents, they're going to start poking around to see what guys are available and how they can fill their needs elsewhere. So, yeah, we're going to have a busy time here.
Great stuff as always. thefourthperiod.com is where you'll find it, at the Fourth Period on X. Say hi to Dennis. Have a great weekend. And 12 months from now, we will be planning to see you in person.
That would be great. I'd love that.
Thanks, buddy.
Draft time. So much fun. Take it easy, bud.
There's Dave Pagnotta with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, Rewucki's ready to jump in. Thursday night, over 30K, Princess Auto Stadium, Bombers and Elks. Jump on your seats if you haven't already. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and their home at Princess Auto Stadium. And, of course, great supporters of Winnipeg Sports Talk as well. Princess Auto, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg. It's coast to coast in Canada, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or out in Brandon. And shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Of course, we'll get to more Bomber talk coming up right after Winnipeg Sports Talk when Jeff Hamilton and I fire up CFL 110 today, immediately following the live edition of WST Daily. We were mentioning earlier, Gary and I being out at Aikens Lake and off the grid when Mark Scheifele's picked. I will be less off the grid now with technological improvements, but I will be back at Aikens very soon. I can't wait. If you're looking for an incredible fly-in fishing experience this summer where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. Head on over to aikenslake.com for more information on options and availability for the 2025 fishing season. And check them out on all their social channels at Aikens Lake for more on what the Aikens experience is all about. And coming up this weekend, big sale at F Apparel, the 28th and the 29th is the time. 15% off everything in the store. So the best deals on custom men's clothing get even better this weekend. Of course, custom suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, the best in menswear accessories. And speaking of discounts, if you are in a wedding party or getting married, make sure to talk to the guys at F about getting the boys suited up for the big day with a great discount for wedding parties at F Apparel, 190 Smith Street downtown. You can also check out the details on the upcoming sale, much more, and make an appointment at F, that's EPH, apparel.com. All right, we're locked and loaded. Going to bring in our pal Brandon Rewucki. This segment brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 locations in Winnipeg, Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place to serve you. Ben Moss is committed to customer satisfaction. You can check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, shine bright. Speaking of shining bright, Brandon Rewucki's here from Skates and Plates and More. B, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pumped to be back on.
Yeah, it's great. This is a fun week. Next week will be fun with free agency, but it's funny. We kicked off the show today talking about a few things, and it was such a dead day yesterday in sports coming out of the NBA Finals. But the intrigue really is building as we get into this weekend, regardless of which team that you follow or cover. It's always a very big week when it comes to the NHL draft and the beginning of free agency. But obviously the Jets have done some work already with the signing of Jonathan Toews last week. Just reaction to Toews deciding to come back and amongst many suitors deciding to do it right here in his hometown of Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things with it. The first being that it's the biggest free agent coup in Jets history, right? Like it's yes, he's not prime Jonathan Toews, all that stuff. But the fact remains that the Winnipeg Jets were able to beat out several to maybe a dozen teams to get his signature over the dotted line. And I mean, that itself is a big, big win for the team. to go along with, I mean, all the intangibles that go into it. And then what he's going to bring onto the ice is, the separate part of the equation here. But just first and foremost, it's a massive win for the team. And he's going to make the club a better team next year. That I feel very confident in. The big unknown is just going to be, what is his on-ice impact going to look like? And the fun/scary part about it is literally nobody knows. Like, none of us have seen him skate since 2019, 2020, like whatever it was. I don't know how much teams have seen him skate in person, or if it's only been on video, but it's going to be maybe the most anticipated training camp session, the first time that Jonathan Toews hits the ice, because whether they're right or wrong in their gamble, the Jets are placing a sizable bet that he's going to fill a major hole for them this year. Like the way that contract's written out, there's just no other way about it. And we'll get a sense pretty early on about, just how back he truly is. So there's still a lot of unknowns when it comes with the Toews situation, specifically just what he's going to deliver on ice. But outside of that, A+ across the board. Like, it's just, even with the uncertainty, this is still such a massive, massive W for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from a Jets perspective, they're hoping, and I think they're counting on paying those bonuses. I mean, they want and really do need him to be a player that can help them win games. And listen, in his statement, we'll hear from him, I presume, at some point next week. In his statement, he said that, he's looking forward to resuming his career and helping a team in any way that he can. Well, I mean, maybe as much as anything, I mean, the romanticism about coming back to your hometown and playing in front of friends and family. If I'm Jonathan Toews and I look at all of these suitor teams and you want to have a contender, okay, well, there's these teams right here. The opportunity to come in, if he's at a high level, is greater in Winnipeg than anywhere else at the center position, and I'm not sure it's close. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a player that they're coming in with very high hopes for, ready and willing to pay the tax or the toll on, a big performance. But it's also out of necessity, especially when you add in Adam Lowry's availability, which probably isn't going to be till mid to late November based on what we know about that hip surgery. So, I mean, it certainly is. And I mean, I'm sure you saw the Instagram post too. Like, it is, I'm thinking about it from a hockey standpoint, and obviously a great story. But when you hear it from the man himself and all those pictures of him wearing this Jet stuff as a kid, I mean, it is, you're right. It really is a big coup for the organization, the fact that you get it done. And I think it speaks to where this team is at right now as a hockey team, that he's willing to come here, because as much as it's great to do all that, he's not signing up to play for a team that's going to be 22nd overall. He also wants to compete and wants to win and be back in the Stanley Cup playoffs with a chance.
Yeah, well, is he signing this contract 3 years ago? Probably not.
No.
2 years ago? Probably not. Right? Like, it speaks to the steps I think the team has taken to be seen as a much more, one, a more legitimate option to actually compete, but then two, just overall a better destination to be a part of. Like, it was Winnipeg was kind of a toxic place for a few years. Right? You can't really skirt by that.
Kind of.
Yeah, that might be couching it a little bit, right? But they've kind of morphed themselves into we'll go with semi-desirable destination, all things considered, which for Winnipeg, that's a pretty good spot to be in across the rest of the NHL landscape, right? But I'm kind of intrigued, too, to see, like, is there going to be some kind of a Toews pull here? Like, I know Chevy maybe, I forget who made the initial report, but Chevy mentioning to Nikolai Ehlers that, hey, a chance to play with Jonathan Toews.
Well, I don't think the timing was coincidental. I mean, he can't even sign this deal until next week. I mean, to announce it, to be ready the way they were, they obviously had all their ducks in a row. But, I mean, I think absolutely. And whether we're talking about Nikolai Ehlers or whether we're talking about other players on July 1st, it's certainly not going to hurt to have a guy with that sort of resume make the decision that he made. And you hope that it'll have some tangible benefits outside the immediate signing of Toews. as Kevin Cheveldayoff has a lot, on his plate moving forward to try to continue to push this team ahead.
Yeah, and so I think this, like, if you're looking to grade the Taves deal, like it's kind of a TBD for me right now. Like, let's wait to see what other dominoes could potentially fall. And like, I don't think it's a massive factor in Ehlers making a decision on whether he's staying or going. But I mean, if he does stay, the Taves contract kind of pays for. Like, I don't know if he gets a bird dog bonus as a part of that thing, but that could potentially sway how you view the Jets offseason as a whole. So I'm kind of like, let's wait and see a little bit, over the course of the next couple weeks. Let's wait and see what he's going to look like come training camp time. I do worry that maybe a segment of the fan base is underestimating the impact of him being off the ice for a couple years, and that it might take a decent amount of time for him to, I guess, revert back to as close to full strength as you can at 37, 38 years old, right? But there's a part of me that, maybe the Jets are looking at it through this vein too, where it's like they know they can get into the playoffs basically with the same group that they have. But if Taves is ramping it up as the time the playoffs come around and he's able to give you some level of improvement over what they've had in the past, it gives your team a better shot at making a deep run of the playoffs this upcoming season.
Yeah, well, and listen, one other thing, and I can't remember who it was we talked about on Friday. Maybe it was Ken, but I'm with you. I mean, we're going to have to see, and I think it's very reasonable to expect that there will be a process to this. But at the same time, I mean, he has been skating since last year. He's going through a lengthy, full summer of training. He's done everything he can to be as close to ready as possible outside of live game action come the weekend. And listen, they are going to need it early in the season, especially without Adam Lowry. Listen, moving on from Taves, I fired this out to the chat earlier on. Listen, Ehlers is by far the number one story going into the weekend. By all accounts, he's going to go to July 1st. There's going to be some teams with some big money for him. If Ehlers walks and Ehlers is plan A, where do you think plan B starts for Kevin Cheveldayoff with a massive hole in the top six if Ehlers walks?
I don't really know, and that's kind of the scary part about this is like, I get there's a plan B, but it really might be more like a plan D to E, where just let's face it, where are they going to, in free agency, find a like-for-like replacement? Because what you're asking for is, do we have a guy that can deliver even strength scoring efficiently, be a boost to our borderline historic power play unit, and deliver a game-breaking speed element to our lineup? Well, guess what? That guy doesn't exist. And by trade, probably doesn't exist either, considering the assets the Jets have at their disposal there. So if he is out the door, this would be a big-time boom or bust move. And I don't know how much, credibility there is to this, but just like from a stylistic point of view, I wonder about a guy like Andrei Kuzmenko, for example, who maybe not speed-wise delivers what Ehlers can, but skill-wise is certainly one of the more intriguing options available, at least on the open market. He showed really well with LA after getting a chance there on their top line to close out the year. I mean, he's a 40-goal scorer in the NHL. Like, he is a legitimately impactful player. The rub with that is when he wants to be, right? And has worn out his welcome with, two other Canadian teams. Take that for what it's worth. He had the brief cup of coffee with the Flyers there. So it's a move where you could replace a ton of the production that Ehlers has if he's in the right mindset and ready to go for you. He could also be out the door in a couple months. So, there's good. I can understand maybe not wanting to take that gamble, but those are the kinds of risks the Jets are going to have to take and find out there. Because you look at some of the secondary options. I mean, it sounds like Brock Besser's close to Minnesota. I don't know how close that deal is, but like doesn't seem like that's going to be on the Jets' radar. Outside of that, I mean, Andrew Mangiapane would be a good player to bring in, but he's going to deliver half of what Nikolai Ehlers can bring to your team. So like, do you try to do the money ball and let's replace him in the aggregates? Sort of I don't know. It's clearly an imperfect scenario the Jets will and may find themselves in. You wonder if they can get a little more creative on the trade market to try to find somebody to bring into the fold there. But I think the cold hard truth of it is, Huss, they can't replace him. Like they can't. They might have to try to find a way to do it, but they cannot find a 1-for-1 swap of Ehlers 2.0 in the free agency market and most likely within the trade market itself.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, despite the fact that I'm sure the offer is a long one that the team would be putting in front of Ehlers, you're less concerned about the second half of that deal than the present right now. And, I did not know this, but Pagnotta was just on with us. We were talking about Pittsburgh, and it was interesting to note that Brian Rust has his trade protection evaporate on the 1st of July. And for a player that, has played and scored at a high level, playing with top guys, that's kind of intriguing. Now he's 33, but we're not talking about a 7-year deal. We're talking about 2 or I think maybe 3 years left on a deal that, frankly, at $5 million in today's market seems to play out quite well. But that's the sort of a player, I think, that, you're looking at some spots of guys. Obviously, you're going to want to hopefully lean into guys that don't have trade protection. We don't need to go down that road again. But to find a fit with a team that's in a very different spot than the Winnipeg Jets are right now, potentially utilizing the 28th overall pick, maybe one of the prospects, maybe one of the younger players that don't quite have a fit right now in Winnipeg to be playing where they might be able to on a non-contending team, and pull a deal like that can help the Jets in the present fill the huge hole that a guy like Ehlers would leave if he walks.
Yeah, no, it's funny. And I mean, you have Raquel in Pittsburgh too, who unfortunately has some level of no trade protection there, but would be a little more along the Nikolai Ehlers type of player, right? I mean, I was talking about on the episode the other day, but I mean, to me, Brian Rust would be the perfect complementary fit beside Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Like just like fit in like an absolute glove there. And then maybe that gives you some options with Perfetti, Velarde as part of line 2, although you wonder, like, is a lack of foot speed going to hinder that line too much? But I mean, that's part of it, like trying to get creative to find different fits or maybe alter the composition or the DNA of your forward core a little bit. Like maybe we don't try to replace Nicky, but let's get a little more, a little more dirty with it. Let's try to muck it up a little bit with some of the skill that we have available with us right now. So I'm on. I love Brian Rustgate. I think he'd be a great fit here in Winnipeg. It's just funny though. Like I don't know if he would be a good fit on the second line. I think he would be just perfect. Like I don't know if you could fit a better player to go in there beside Scheifele and Connor. So you might have to, maybe rejig a few things here and there. But I'm with you where it's like I'm on Pugpedia, and if they don't have one of those anchor symbols beside their name, sign me up for that guy to come in, baby. Because if they don't have a say in it, let's take a run at him.
Brad Rewucki's with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How have you dialed in much to the draft? I mean, it's always interesting seeing that the top players that are coming in, with the Jets at 28, potentially moving off the pick if they get an idea. I mean, I haven't been as, locked in on the movement, although I did watch the Bob McKenzie trade show last night, and it's interesting to kind of get a pretty good idea about where everybody slots in. But you have much intrigue after presumably Schaefer goes off the board to the New York Islanders, who I'm sure everyone in your division were really pumped about the Islanders moving awesome. All the way up and getting the number one.
Great. More Metro team, right? Like the Devils jump up to get Hughes. That's great too, and Heischer, right? Like the more the merrier. It's just
at least you got Zegras. He's a top pick.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, if we want to get into the Zegras discussion, I'm very, very happy to do so.
What did you think?
it's nice not to be the laughingstock for once. Like, coming out of the Chuck Fletcher era, it's like we're finally a competently run organization where that's what a team in the Flyers position should be doing. It's a zero risk home run type of a swing where, you have all these assets you accumulate by selling off players to take runs at talent that becomes available. And like Danny Briere said, like, look, if he hasn't had the injury and production issues he's had the last 2 years, he's not available to us. So, like, yeah, there's going to be some question marks around it, but we got to take a shot. And now, for a relatively meager package, you could solve one of the major issues that team has down the middle, right? So it's a clear, massive win from the Flyers side of things, which they finally, they could have used that with the way the draft lottery went.
I want a reality show, a behind the scenes reality show of Rick Tocchet dealing with Trevor Zegras from day one throughout the season. That doesn't seem like a match made in heaven, but in a lot of ways, that might be exactly what Zegras needs to really turn his career around, which has started off with such excitement and promise, and in a lot of ways has left a lot of people wanting more.
Yeah, I think it's great for him. Like, coaches like Tocchet and to some degree even Tortorella, like they get this bad rap in a sense of like a skilled guy comes in and it's like, hey, you have to dump the puck the second you get over the red line. And that's not how they operate. It's just basically we want some minimum level of effort on the defensive end.
You need to compete. Yeah,
like you need to compete. And then once you get over the red line, you get free reign to do whatever you want, man. Like that's what you're here. Like, for all of Tortorella's faults, you basically pleaded with any skilled guy in Philadelphia, like, I want you to take risks. Like we need offense, and if you have it, give it to us, and I'll play you more. So I think it's going to be similar to that, and I think it's going to be a good thing. The other part of it too is they're not quite at the Buffalo level of ineptitude, but a pretty long list of guys that have left Anaheim recently and have found pretty major success once they got out of that organization, and guys that looked like they were spent and done for. Hampus Lindholm got Norris votes after he got traded out of Anaheim. Cam Fowler looked cooked. He had 10 points against the Jets in the first round series. He looked great. Could just be one of those classic change of scenery things where it wasn't going to work for him there, but you put him in a new spot. And I think Zegras I think he's going to be rejuvenated. I'm a big fan of his game. I kind of wish the Jets would have made a push for him too, to be honest. I just think he's one of those guys that, even though his style of game doesn't maybe lend you to the stereotypical playoff type performer, I just think when the lights get bright, he wants the puck on his stick and he's ready to make a play. And I think he's going to be a smash hit in Philly. So I'm excited for it.
Well, you're all positive. I maybe don't share those same expectations, but I appreciate. I tell you what, if the Jets traded for him, I'd be saying the exact same damn thing.
Well, that's the whole point, right? Wherever he goes, you could feel free to shape your narrative. That would have. I'll tell you what, though, like to have Taves as a mentor would have been a pretty interesting situation. But nonetheless, not going to happen there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for the draft. I think it's going to be. I'm not buying the whole top picks are getting traded because we hear that every single year and nobody ever gets moved, but. Like Utah is the ultimate wild card in all of this in terms of what they're going to do and who they take. Pittsburgh's interesting too, though. Now that they've got 11 and 12 locked in, I don't know. I think this first round's better than people give it credit for. I think the teams at the top of the draft and the teams at the bottom of the first round, I think they're going to be happy with the position that they find themselves in. I think there is like a bit of a. There's maybe not the same level of high-end talent in the mid-first round that we've seen in other years, but I think teams in the top 10 are going to get a really good player. I think teams at the bottom end of the first round are going to get somebody that might surprise based off of expectations there. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good time.
Well, we'll look forward to catching up next week post-draft and at least the first day of free agency to see how things stand both with the home team here and around the National Hockey League. Brandon, great stuff as always. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. I'm off to make my Zegras Art Ross Trophy bet, so I'll get on that and we'll get
let
right
me know
to
what
it
the
here.
number is on that one.
Yeah.
Get back to me.
It looks like it's off the board, actually. All right. Well, we'll maybe I'll see if Taves and Conn Smythe odds are out yet. So
now we're
bet
talking.
something. Yeah.
Now we're talking. I'm going to call Pat at CoolBet right now. Can we get these booked immediately? We want to bet it. Take it easy, dude.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Great stuff with Brandon Rewucki, and the guys will be going through the CoolBet lines a little later on and getting the ASD picks. I actually have an appointment, so I'm going to be cutting out, but Connor Rabchak's going to be jumping in. Remis does have Joey Slattery coming up. I know Connor and Reem are going to want to get in on some of these hockey topics that we've just mentioned too. And of course, the Bomber game coming up on Tuesday. We do have CFL 110 live immediately after WST today, so stick around for that as well. Big shout out to our friends over at Royal Sports for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. We were just talking Jonathan Taves. There's already been plenty of people popping into Royal saying, hey, can I get my 19 Jets jersey? The answer to that is an unequivocal yes. So if you want to be the first person on your block with the Taves 19 Winnipeg Jet jersey, head on down to Royal Sports right now. Your number one spot when you're thinking jerseys, fan gear for the Jets, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, or really all of professional sports, not to mention international soccer. We got a Canada game tonight that the guys will get to in the CoolBet lines in the Gold Cup. Great Canada soccer gear. And then, of course, everything else for summer, soccer, tennis, baseball, tons of bikes, the great Yeti section. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Of course, our friends at Boston Pizza, ready for you. $15, lunch served within 20 minutes right now. If you're on the move, but you still want the great taste of BP at noon hour, pop in, guaranteed within 20 minutes, or it's free. And tons of incredible lunch options at $15. And of course, the entire BP menu available for delivery. Order online at bostonpizza.com and get it hot and fresh to your door as well. If you're not going to the game on Thursday, next best place to be, of course, is your local Boston Pizza Sports Bar. All right, let's get a big cheers here to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Yes, 1919. Little Brown Jug had a couple of those this past week, and nothing like a generic lager on a hot day. With Hustler stepping out with the appointment, pleased to be welcome in Connor Rabchak, host of WST Sunday Live. Big bump in views this weekend. Connor, how's it going? How are you feeling here on a Tuesday?
Feeling great. Coming out of the weekend, we got some more Jets news, the Jonathan Taves, the draft, free agencies around the corner. CFL season is in full swing. Excited for CFL 110 here coming up later, but I'm glad to be here, Remo, talking sports with you on a great Tuesday.
Yeah, and we do have some NHL news. The 2025 Hockey Hall of Fame inductees are announced. The wait is over after 15 years. Alexander McGillney is a Hall of Famer. 1,032 points in 990 games. His 76 goals in 92-93, the fifth most ever in a season. I think there were arguments you could induct him in for a builder, as he was the first Russian defector to join the NHL in 1989. Stanley Cup champion 2000 with the Devils. Triple gold member. That's Olympics, Worlds, Worlds, and Stanley Cup. Played for Buffalo, Vancouver, New Jersey, Toronto. Finally, been banging this McGillney drum. I don't know why it took so long, but he is in. Other inductees, Joe Thornton, Duncan Keith, Zdeno Chara, all on the first ballot. Jennifer Botterill, Winnipeg's own. That one's overdue as well. 3-time Olympic gold medalist for Canada, 5-time world champion. Brianna Decker, Olympic gold medalist for Team USA, 6-time world champion. And in the builder category, Jack Parker, Boston University coach, and Danielle Sauvageau, coached Canada to 2002 Olympic gold with the women's team, the first female builder inducted. Connor, impressions of this year's Hall of Fame class?
An absolutely stacked, loaded class, Remis. I mean, Moloney finally getting in, Zdeno Chara, Joe Thornton, Jennifer Botterill, and Duncan Keith. Like, we've spent all week here talking about Jonathan Toews and his resume over the years. Duncan Keith was obviously there for all 3 cups as well. But that 2015 run where he won the Conn Smythe was one of the best, playoff runs we've ever seen from a defenseman. And there are just so many great accomplishments up and down this list. So my first impressions of the class is it's an absolutely stacked class, which is, usually the case. It is the Hockey Hall of Fame, but some years you get some worse classes than others, and this one is definitely loaded.
Yeah, there's some people who did not get in who are eligible. Could Ryan Getzlaf get in on his first year of eligibility? Carey Price. Some people have been banging the drum for Keith Tkachuk for a while. Patrick Marleau, Henrik Zetterberg or Rod Brindamore, Curtis Joseph. Those players will have to wait. There's a long list of strong candidates, but I think they did a great job of this year. In the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's a bit different than the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Baseball Hall of Fame, where all the writers get a vote and send in their ballot. The Hockey Hall of Fame, you have their board in a room, debating, and you see players get in after long waits, like Jeremy Roenick last year, and not really sure why. Like, we don't really know why McGillney had to wait 15 years to get in when his numbers showed that he was a Hall of Famer, but this is the process that they've chosen. I think they got it right this year. Joe Thornton, 7th, all-time, with over 1,000 assists. Hart and Art Ross Trophy winner, Olympic gold medalist, World Cup with Canada in 2004 and 2016. I had him on my Century team. Great passer. I mean, for turning Jonathan Chichu into Rocket Richard winner, Joe Thornton. Great passer. And Duncan Keith, you mentioned him, big part of the Olympic gold medals as well, 2010, 2014. And Zdeno Chara, 24 seasons, most games ever by a defenseman. Quite the class as well for the men and the women this year. So I think they got it right. I like this year's class. So congrats to the inductees of this year and to the committee on selecting them. Connor, it is draft week. I mean, thoughts? We haven't really had you on since the Taves signing. Thoughts on what Jonathan Taves can bring to the Jets? And if for anyone who missed out on WST Sunday Live, what was your and Liss's takes on where the Jets are at right now?
Yeah, I think our take on Sunday Live was essentially this is a team that needs center depth, and even more so with Adam Lowry out of the lineup for probably the first 2 months of the upcoming regular season. So to add center depth is never a bad thing. And when it can be Jonathan Toews, it's an unknown. I mean, he hasn't played in a couple years. He had health issues. The contract is heavily tied to performance bonuses after 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 games played, and then into the playoffs, of course, as you guys have gone over it. I don't mind it as an on-ice hockey move. I mean, I think if Jonathan Toews has anything else left in the tank, you're going to see it in the first couple of months of the season. And then if Adam Lowry can come back and be, close to 100% of what he was before this major hip surgery, suddenly your center depth is looking a little bit better. And we were, outlining our best and worst case scenarios for Jonathan Toews. And where I'm at is this isn't the best case scenario, but a win for the Jets in the Jonathan Toews signing going into next season, in my opinion, is if he is their fourth line center, but he's playing well above that well above that level, maybe playing on the second power play, taking some key defensive faceoffs, but he's playing above a fourth line center level, but he's playing on the Winnipeg Jets fourth line. That would give them great center depth. Maybe they add another center like Hustler was talking about at the start of today's show. So I could see that as maybe not the best case scenario. Maybe there's another level that Toews can get to as, some people think he could be the second line center. But I think if he's slotting in as the 4C and delivering a 3C type of impact, and the Jets have a very good fourth line, I see that as a win for the Jets.
Yeah, there's I don't know what they're going to set the over-under for his points at. Someone was asking in chat. He did have 31 in 53 games in his last season, 37 and 71 in 21-22, and then 60 points in 19-20. That was in 70 games. I would imagine if you had to set an over-under, it would be close to 40-ish points if he played 82. I don't know if you're going to project him to play all 82. Right. I'm not sure if you can do that, but where do you land on if you had to set a number for his over-under for points?
Someone on WST Sunday Live asked us, and they said 39.5. So you said right around 40 there. That's pretty on the money, I'd say, Remis. It all depends for me on what the Winnipeg Jets think, Jonathan Toews' role is going to be. Because as we know, point totals are largely just tied to time on ice and power play time. I mean, Nikolai Ehlers might get $9 million on the open market, and he's like a 60-point player. But I think we all know that if he was on the first line, first power play, playing, Kyle Connor 20 minutes a night, he'd be more than a 60-point player. I think we can all agree on that. So if Jonathan Toews is a second line center, I'd say he goes over that 40-point total. If he's not, if he, fills in for Lowry and then drops down to the fourth line, I could see him being, maybe a 35-point player, 30-point player that plays, a very specialized role on the fourth line. So I got to wait and see on what the Winnipeg Jets do in terms of his role. But if he's the second line center and he's getting power play time as well, maybe not top power play, but second power play time, I think he goes over 40. If he's on the fourth line, I could see it being under that number, Remo. What do you think?
That's something we'll be speculating. Whatever you said is what I think.
Okay.
Connor. That's something we'll be speculating throughout the summer, as it is a big unknown and potentially some big dollars tied to that if he can reach his games played. I do have to give a couple shout-outs here. T. Conapoli with the super chat. Wants to see the Jets add some grit. He says Tanner Jeannot, a must-add. Possibly Sam Bennett. He says, go blue, and hello, what's up, T. Conapoli? Love your all caps messages in here. And Darth Skater wants to know, when are the WST bingo cards coming out? Funny enough, I don't know if you saw, the NHL.com website was offering a fantasy game, Stanley Cup final bingo. You had like certain things that had to happen again. You could knock them off your bingo card, a literal digital bingo card. I don't know if we'll do something like that for the draft. Like if a team says, we'd like to congratulate the Florida Panthers on their Stanley Cup champion. Thank the great city of Los Angeles for their hospitality here. Or someone making a joke about it being on Zoom. I don't know. One thing we will see at the draft this year, celebrity pickers. Was announced. Bailey, the WWE superstar, she'll be announcing the San Jose picks. She's from San Jose, California. Makes you wonder. I'm interested to see who's going to do the Jets pick. Is going to be someone from Winnipeg, someone from Manitoba. Would it be
Chris Jericho?
The easy answer is Chris Jericho. I looked at IMDb. I typed in Winnipeg from actors because they're all in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
Nia Vardalos of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Anna Paquin, isn't she in some new hot shows now? I'm not sure. I remember she's in True Blood and other stuff. We'll have to.
What about local celebrity Jonathan Toews, Remis?
Oh man, yeah. Would they bring him in to make the pick? That's a lot of flying. That's interesting.
True.
I'm not sure, but yeah. What if they did bring in Jonathan Toews? Okay, now we're talking. As we approach free agency, the draft, Connor, have you looked into any mock drafts? Is there any prospects standing out to you for the Jets as they pick 28th overall?
Yeah, I don't know, Remis. I have looked at some rankings and some mock drafts, and the biggest thing is, you look at, Scott Wheeler, who you guys had on the show this week, and Corey Pronman at The Athletic. A lot of what they're projecting, players from 20 to 60, is really just, players or teams are going to have certain players higher up on their board. I did see today that Scott Wheeler did a mock draft and had the Jets taking a defenseman, and wrote in his little blurb that he thinks it's likely that the Jets take a defenseman. Last year with the second round pick, they took Alphonse Frey. We know Elias Salamonson is a player that is going to make an impact for the Winnipeg Jets over the next number of years here as a second round pick. The Jets don't have a second round pick this year. They have a first. It's very late, 28th. But I think I haven't had the time to, dive into specifics on which defenseman the Jets could target. But I could see them continuing this trend from last year. Alphonse Frey, their first pick, being a defenseman. I could see them taking a defenseman as well to kind of bolster that pool, because up front, you have Brain Yeager, Colby Barlow, Brad Lambert. They went on a long run of forward picks there. So I could see them going defenseman if they end up keeping that pick, which we were talking about this on WST Sunday Live. I'm still not convinced that they keep the pick. I think that they're going to trade it. I think it's about a 50-50 chance that they make the pick right now. But if they do make it, I could see them going defenseman for sure.
Yeah, you look at their prospect pool. I'm here on Puckpedia checking out non-roster forwards. Yeager, Julian, Lambert. These guys have signed ELCs. Barlow, Chibrikov, Walton, they even got Fabian Wagner and Danny Zhilkin here down the depth chart. These guys they're all forwards. That was the forward list. Sorry, the defense.
Oh, well,
they're only two. That was the forward list. That's why they're all forwards. But there's only two non-roster defensemen, and Alphonse Frey and Elias Salamonson, non-roster defense prospects. So I think defense would be the lean here. And hey, we did get the announcement, development camp. You're looking forward to seeing anyone at Hockey for All Center next week already. We're at development camp next week, Connor.
Already. Everything gets packed in. I remember this last year when the finals went to Game 7, Remis. It was like finals, and then the draft. We're on Monday, that Game 7, and then the draft is on Friday, right into the next week. Everything's kind of packed in here. The offseason is so compressed. But I'm fired up for development camp. I love going to development camp every single year. You can't really make any big sweeping takeaways from, how players look, because it is more just like scrimmage and drills and just for a chance for people to get out to Hockey for All Center and see some of these new faces that the Winnipeg Jets draft. I will say last year, Liz Hood, my co-host on WST Sunday Live, can confirm that I thought Kieran Walton looked good, and then he had a big breakout season. So I don't know, maybe people have to stick around, see who the breakout player is this year. But I always love development camp. Don't love the fact that the first media session is 12:30 on Tuesday, July 1st, which is like prime free agency time. But we'll be there for the on-ice session. Not so sure about the media session after the fact, but really looking forward to getting out to Hockey for All Center and watching the future of the Winnipeg Jets at development camp next week, Remo.
100%, Connor. It's been great chopping it up with you here. Chop, and
chopping it up.
And we'll be back going over the cool bet lines and making the Assiniboia Downs picks. But before we do that, about to hook up with Joey Slattery, talking some basketball. Pleased to be joined by Winnipeg CBears play-by-play voice and CEBL and TSN sideline reporter Joey Slattery. Joey, how's it going for you on a sunny June 24?
Man, beautiful. It seems like the smoke has subsided in the city. It's a reasonable temperature. We are in the midst of basketball season. It's interesting again with the CBears. We have a Canadian highlight in the NBA with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being not only the MVP, but the finals MVP. Everything's going great in my world, Remo.
Yeah, I wanted to get to the CBears, who had a bit of a win streak before it ended on Sunday, but the big basketball news is OKC Thunder winning the NBA Finals, led by Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, what an incredible season for him. MVP, Finals MVP, scoring champion. What can you say about this guy's season?
Dude, has to be in the GOAT conversation. It's still a little early. He's got a lot of career to go, which actually kind of scares me in a good way. What he did is absolutely historic. Michael Jordan, Shaq, and Magic Johnson are the people to ever do that before. It's pretty elite company that he's joined with everything that he's accomplished this year. And, you throw him in the NBA Finals in a series that could have been a nightmare, right? I mean, Indiana was written off before the series got started. And, when push came to shove in those last two games, he really stepped up and was the leader of that team. He's a phenomenal player. I think we should be all proud that he's Canadian. He's got ties to the CEBL. He's talked about Chet Holmgren, who had a massive series himself, a massive playoffs, a massive season. But he talked about training in Ontario with CEBL players was the first time he noticed that, Chet Holmgren's a player, right? And he was talking about how good that league is and, his ties to the Canadian basketball community. But this is a guy that's been supportive of the CEBL as well. Speaks to the development that we've had in Canada, not only from a CEBL standpoint, but just in general. I mean, you look at even in Manitoba, the amount of athletes we've seen go off to the NCAA, now playing professional. It's absolutely incredible, but I think this is the cherry on top. I mean, what he's accomplished now, all due respect to Steve Nash, I still think he's the greatest as of right now, but I think that's going to be a tight race the way Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's playing. I wouldn't be shocked. Usually when you see this, there's another MVP down the road for him. This OKC team still has draft picks left, Remo, from that Paul George trade. So they can lose players. And the way they've drafted, it sounds like, they're going to have a good opportunity to make this last for quite a long time. Dynasty watch, we'll call it. I hate to say that after one championship, but this is a team that's not in any kind of trouble when it comes to contract talks and extensions and who they're going to lose. Their core's intact for a while, and they still have some leverages down the road to make this last a while.
Yeah, SGA, the fourth player in NBA history with scoring title, MVP, NBA Finals. You had Jordan, O'Neal, and SGA. The other one is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was a Laker.
Was the other one.
We don't talk about the Lakers. I don't know if you've noticed here, but it's a Celtics household only.
But moving to the local club, I think we're getting close to reaching for the panic button. When the Seabears were at 1-5. They get some reinforcements, Jalen Harris, Simi Shatu, and they go on a 4-game heater. They did have that snapped on Sunday, but what can you say about the last weekend with the win in Vancouver and a loss in Edmonton, and how they've battled back from 1-5 to now at 5-6?
I mean, what a turnaround, right? The panic button, I mean, people wasn't even nearby. I think people had it on the button, ready to push, right? We've even seen pictures on social media, calling for Mike Taylor to be fired. And he had preached, to his credit, the one thing that we talked about on the Target Score podcast, things weren't going well. And he pulled the shoot on it, right? He tried to build that team mentality. And I don't think they've abandoned that totally. But there was the realization that this team's not working the way it is. We can't just wait for Simi Shatu to get here and fix everything, which would have also added a lot more pressure on Simi Shatu. I don't think that would matter after seeing him play. But, getting Jalen Harris took a lot of pressure off guys like, Tevian Jones, Jalen Williams, Terry Roberts, who to me actually has been playing great the whole way through. But it was a huge signing. And, one of the things we could have seen this as an ego thing, that we're going to make this work because we have the playoff spot. But to me, that was real action taken in the sense that we're not leaning on this playoff spot as our safety net. Like, we want to earn that spot. And he's really put a resurgence into that team. Simi Shatu, exactly what everybody was waiting for, right? You have that inside presence. I mean, defensively, this guy has monster blocks. He's impossible to stop anywhere between the blocks under the rim. Like, he is so powerful. He's so big. He's a problem for teams, and he's accurate. That's the other thing, too. He's efficient. His field goal percentage is great, too. But it opens up everybody else. I think what we've seen is everybody else is getting a little bit more comfortable now. There's less pressure on Tevian Jones, Jalen Williams. And I was talking to Mike Taylor for my game day report ahead of that Vancouver game, ahead of the Edmonton game. And one of the things he said was, which, spoke well to me, again, going back to the Celtics, is he's like, this team is built kind of like the 2008 Celtics. Like, you've got your big three, but then you've got Terry Roberts, who's kind of your Rajon Rondo, right? This incredible point guard who takes the risks, has some flash, but makes things happen, and he's making everybody around him better. But right now they're looking really good. Yes, they lost to Edmonton. Edmonton's a tough place to play, right? They've got probably the second best fan base after Winnipeg. They've got their own arena. Like, when you go in there, it's Stingers. Like, they've got their banners hanging up. They've got a good crowd. It was a sellout crowd. And Edmonton is a good team. Mason Bercier guarded Jalen Harris so well that game. He had no points, but, he stripped Simi Shatu. I mean, he was obviously playing with a drive there to prove Winnipeg that, they shouldn't have let him walk. But nonetheless, they got the last laugh. They got the win. That's going to be the tight matchup in the standings. But again, Winnipeg gets the bye to the conference final the way the CEBL playoff structure is. So, it's more important for Edmonton. There's more urgency probably in Edmonton's court on that one. But nonetheless, I would take that game away. See what they do at home here against Scarborough on Friday, because this is a team that is poised now that looks really good. And if they can keep building in this direction, they will be a favorite for the championship, especially after they just beat the favorites in Vancouver. which is no easy feat. Mitch Creek had 29 points, who's the best player in this league, in my opinion, as of right now. Simi Chateau pushing him for that. But that was the big one for me. The mission was to beat Vancouver. I think that's the hard part, is to go from Vancouver to Edmonton and try to regroup. It's one-day travel. It's a tight schedule, but they got the main job done, which was send a message to the league and beat Vancouver, and they did a very good job at that.
Yeah, you got Calgary and Vancouver on top of the West, 8-3. Edmonton just above or just below them at 6-6, and then there's the Sea Bears at 5-6, coming off the 4-game win streak, 4-1 now in their last 5. So you mentioned championship weekend. What are they need to figure out so they can be ready? Because the season is winding down. There's not too many games left at this point as we approach July.
We are at the halfway point as of Friday. It's a 24-game season. That'll be game 12. So, yeah, this is the time. And I think the roster has to be set by July 25th. It's mid to late July where they have to have their rosters absolutely locked. So there's still room for movement. One of the things that, people have kept their eye on is Alex Campbell. He struggled this year. He, even dating back to last year, he's really struggled since coming into Winnipeg. He is the team captain, but you got to think that was a dude that they were hoping that could hit some threes, right? His defense is always there. He's a great competitor, a great culture guy. I mean, talk to anybody in the media. Alex Campbell's a pleasure to deal with. And, he's a legend in the CEBL. I can't stress that enough. But there's been a lack in the 3-point area. They have the worst 3-point percentage in the league. Their field goal percentage is still the worst in the league, although there are a few that are tied within like points percentage. But the 3-point percentage is the one that they still really need to improve on. If there's a good Canadian, they're still looking for a good Canadian to come in and kind of fill out this roster. I understand that Jalen Williams will be moving off to Summer League, sorry. So they're expected to come back, but this was the whole thing. They're preparing for players to go to Summer League and be back for championship weekend. But there will be some fillers there. So I expect you might see a couple of, rentals per se come in. But the big thing that they need permanently is a 3-point shooter. I mean, you've got Scotty Lindsay, who plays for Edmonton now, who's been having a phenomenal season. They really liked him, but he signed in Edmonton. They could really use a guy like that to kind of round out this roster. But I do think the team that they have now is capable of going a long way and making a run. But that 3-point shooting would be a huge asset, just to have someone dependable, consistent, who can give you 6 to 9 points a game, play solid defense, and just be that knockdown 3-point shooter when you need it. That's the one thing missing. But expect some moves moving forward. I don't know how big they're going to be, but there'll definitely be some movement in this roster moving forward to that deadline as they try to tailor it just a little bit. But the moves they made so far, you almost can look at it as, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But you got to keep up. Other teams are signing other players too, right? Like Calgary's gotten better. Edmonton's gotten better. Vancouver even signed Corey Davis Jr., so somehow they got better. So this is a team that, they want to keep up. They want to make sure that they have guys in early enough too that they can build that chemistry into August when the championship weekend comes about.
Joey, you got the next game Friday night against Scarborough, which you mentioned. They're 6-5. What can we expect to see at Canada Life Center? The game will actually be on TSN on the big channel.
Yeah, it's the national game this week, but whatever it is with Scarborough, Remo, they've built this weird kind of like rivalry that really favors Winnipeg. They have the craziest games. Last year Alex Campbell hit his 1,000th point off a missed foul shot from Scarborough to win the game. They go down the other way. Teddy Allen fed Campbell, and he hits the 3 to win the season, or the season opener last year, or at least the home opener last year, and that was his 1,000th point. Epic. They went to Scarborough just last week, and they won that game. That was their first road win of the season, tying their record from last year. And it was the same deal. They had to fight from behind, come back, and win it in target time. So these teams, for whatever reason, have the most entertaining games. Cat Barber will be playing in Winnipeg for the first time. That's what I'm interested to see. This guy is NBA caliber. He's played everywhere, but he's a staple. I think this is his 3rd, maybe 4th season in Scarborough. He's won a championship there. So this will be the first time Winnipeg gets to see him. That's going to be the biggest difference, is a guy that's now played a few games with Scarborough, that's in his rhythm. They just won a game not too long, or over the weekend. So they're starting to feel their rhythm a little bit. And it's a lot tighter in the East, right? So Scarborough's coming in a little bit desperate here because they're in a race with Niagara right now. And, you can't count out Ottawa either. So there's a few teams in the East, Montreal, that they're trying to battle for playoff position. So it will be an entertaining game, but Cat Barber is going to be the guy that they have to lock down. Meanwhile, they just have to keep doing what they're doing on offense, right? Just feed Simi Chateau. If he can get 25, 30 a game, great. Jalen Harris is there, but we've seen they have players that can step up. So it'll be interesting to see who steps up, because a couple of guys did kind of take a night off there at Edmonton that I'd like to see kind of step up in this one.
Joey, it's been great having you on, talking Sea Bears, little basketball. You mentioned the Target Score podcast. I know you do with Taylor Allen, who we had on last week. Just let people know where they can find it and what it's all about.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. At Target Score Podcast is the YouTube channel. Also available on podcasts or wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that fun stuff. I also do my my reporting on Instagram as well. So I always have my game day report ahead of every game, our weekly hoops report, and the scoreboards when they're out of town. So keep up to date on everything and all the storylines at Joey Slattery TV. It's also on the Target Score Instagram at Target Score WPG. So mine is at Joey Slattery TV, and the Target Score is at Target Score WPG.
Joey, I'll throw those links for everyone in the description of this video, whether on YouTube here or on podcast. Joey, thank you again for joining me today. Always great to talking hoops with you.
Appreciate you as always. Thanks for the invite.
That was Joey Slattery, and yes, I put the links, as I said, in the description of this video. Target Score Podcast and Joey Slattery TV on Instagram. Connor, you're a big Sea Bears guy, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm always there at the games. Season ticket holder, me and my family. The great atmosphere at the games. Teams turning it around. Got some new players. Love that conversation with Joey. But it seems like there's a little bit more hope with this year's team than maybe he previously believed at the first 5 or 6 games there.
Yeah, got off to a rough start, turning it around. They'll be home Friday, as we said, against Scarborough. I'm trying to bring you into this box here. But here, we're going to the cool bet lines. It's a weird time of year, Connor, with sports. There's no hockey. Basketball's over, but we are here with baseball. I know you're watching a lot more Jays lately.
Yes. I mean, the Blue Jays are a fun watch right now, man. They're in the hunt for the division. They're 3.5 games back, I think it is right now, starting a series tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. I'm by no means, a Blue Jays expert. I watch them periodically, but watching a lot more baseball, especially with CFL only on weekends and stuff like that. Like on these Mondays through Thursdays, watching a lot more baseball, and the Jays are a fun watch right now, even though they're usually in the early slate. I know, Remis, you like to feast on the late slate games, probably like the Dodgers and the Padres and things like that. But yeah, tuning into more Blue Jays games as they're kind of a fun watch right now and in a race for a division.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how they would be this season, but they got Vlad sorted out, and they're ready to add. And could they even sign Bo long term? Now, they were about a little over a month away from the MLB trade deadline, so I wonder what the Jays are going to look to bring in as they compete for a playoff spot. So here's the line tonight. Jays minus 133 in Cleveland, and we do have a Tuesday night super boost. It's usually minus 175 boosted to plus 100. Vlad Guerrero Jr. to get a hit, and Canada to win in the Gold Cup over El Salvador. And yes, Canada's been in action with CONCACAF. And Hustler's got the Jays on his own ride with Huss parlay with the Jays over Cleveland, KC over Tampa, and San Diego over Washington usually plus 387 boosted to plus 446. They'll go over the CFL 110 parlay coming up with him and Jeff. And we'll look over the CFL lines. We can do that too. Bombers, huge favorites, minus 9.5 over Edmonton. What did you think of the Bombers' performance in the win over BC?
I thought it was a brilliant performance from the defense. I mean, you have Jamal Parker with an interception and a touchdown. The BC Lions with Jeremiah Mazzoli really struggled to move the ball for the majority of that game. And then every time they would get close, the Bombers would force a turnover with the Evan Holm interception as well. Offense took a little bit longer to get going. That was to be expected with Caleros, missing the first week due to a suspension. Absolutely loved the Bombers' social media post. saying we can't come to the phone right now because we're 2-0. That was A+ social media content right there. And that was fun to start 2-0 and wrap up the season series against BC already.
Yeah, I see Schnitzy in chat says he took the Bombers -9.5. They've beaten Edmonton in 12 straight, and the last 10 by double digits. Yeah, I mean, they haven't looked good, Edmonton, at all. It's going to be a tough start for them if they go 0-3, a lot of pressure. And this Bombers defense just crushed Nathan Rourke, made Masoli ineffective. What will they do to Trey Ford? And Dalton Schoen showing up with catching the 200th touchdown pass of Zach Collaros' career. What a throw that was. His defense looking very strong. Montreal -2.5 in Hamilton. Kind of waiting to hear on some QB news there. Alexander left the game. And Saskatchewan's hosting BC on Saturday. They're 5.5-point favorites. And I saw Farhan tweeting, Rourke did do some throws today and Masoli, so some quarterback uncertainty as well with BC. And I imagine I haven't really seen about Drew Brown going up against Toronto. Ottawa -2.5-point favorites at home against Toronto. That's a Sunday game, so we're into the Sunday night CFL. It is a long weekend, and Toronto's a team where Coach Ryan Dinwiddie said, heads will roll. Someone's getting cut, was not happy about their game last week. And there's just been so much turnover on this Toronto team that won the Grey Cup last year. And I've been poo-pooing Arbuckle all season, but he does lead the league in passing yards right now, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got any early impressions on some of these matches or some of these games in week 4.
Yeah, I see that Hustler and Jeff in their CFL 110 parlay have the Elks +9.5. I'm interested to hear from them coming up here in a bit on their reasoning for that, because, the Bombers are on a short week. That is probably a driving influence for taking the Elks in this scenario. But the Bombers didn't look that great against BC on the road, or at least their offense didn't, let me clarify. And they still beat them by 2 touchdowns, and BC had a garbage time TD there. So I don't know, do we see Cody Fajardo in this game is where my mind is at. If Trey Ford is struggling and it's halftime and the Elks only have, a rouge, they have 1 point or something, is Cody Fajardo starting the second half? I think Edmonton's already 0-2. They've already struggled. Their offense hasn't moved the ball that well. I get why the Bombers are 10-point favorites, and I'd be, nervous taking the Elks +9.5. And then for the rest, Montreal being a 2.5-point favorite, Montreal's looked like the best team in the CFL these first couple of weeks here. Davis Alexander's, been pulled out for some precautionary reasons in back-to-back games, avoiding injury. He's good to go against Hamilton. I like them to cover that. And then BC is all, dependent on if they have Nathan Rourke in there. And then the last game of the week, Toronto. We'll see if Chad Kelly, he's going to play at some point in these next couple of weeks as well, maybe even this week. So lots of QB news to monitor. And it should be a very fun week in the CFL. And I'm looking forward to the Bomber game on Thursday night.
Yes, I'm loving the return of CFL as we're in week 4, but it is Bombers week. That week went by, keeps screwing me up. It is live racing at Assiniboia Downs. We got to make the picks before we head out to CFL 110. Hustler's got, he's got race 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm 2, 5, 6, 7. I'll go through this. I'm on last night at the races. Hustler, he didn't have any winners. I think I was down 250. So I had one winner, trifecta on the last race, which I hit. That paid $1, $6 total bet. $1 played $17.50. So I was okay. Could have gone better. Could have been worse. Could have lost everything. So he's about 200 ahead of me in our duel at the Downs this year. Race 2, I'm going with Pino Bambino to win. And I am on race. So now he's on, Hustler's got race 4. He has a 4-6 exacta box. That's no magic and pre-day West. And race 5, I have a trifecta box 2, 5, 6. That's a lot of Verve. Totalizer, the heavy favorite. and Kate's Princess, a bit of a longer shot. So I got the top two and then a longer shot. That's been our strategy. And Hustler's got in race 5, 2 to win. A lot of verve to win. So we're on a similar page there. Race 6, I've got a 3-4 exacta box. Blue Sky Jade, 8 to 1. And Joe's had enough. Those are the AI smart picks for 1 and 2. And Hustler has 2, 3, 4 in his box. So he's got Shemaim, Blue Sky Jade, and Joe's had enough. So we're, again, similar there. And race 7, I have a 1, 3, 10 box. That is the program selection and AI smart pick. So a bit of the favorite. But there's 10 horses in this race. So that is Sodacy, Upstriker, and Judo, and he's 1, 8, 10. So he's Judo, Sodacy, and he's got Brody's Streak with a longer shot, trying to juice the payout. Cinderboy Downs live racing, can't wait for that tonight. And Connor, we are wrapping up here. Just quickly before CFL 110 about to start, Blues announcing their new jerseys. Did you like the redesign?
I did. The St. Louis Blues, it didn't really change much. They just kind of like bolded it a little bit more. I like the jerseys. I think they look great. Fully leaning into this like retro look. The logo, yeah, like it's barely any different, but I do think it's an upgrade from what it was. So the away jerseys are sweet. Those look amazing. I think that the yellow around the arms and the bottom of the jersey looks great. The yellow font as well. They're kind of leaning into their history, going with a as they say in the tweet, they're a classic look for a new era, and I like it. What about you?
Yeah, I think these are a win. The baby blue look great. I think they're going to look sharper. There's some complaints from the fans about the numbers being single color, no outline, similar to what the Jets reverse retro or the Jets 90s jerseys had one color. I don't really think that's much of an issue for me. Like the look, baby blue, clean. They felt there were too many navy jerseys and fans wanted this heritage look. Connor, we got to get out of here. It's CFL 110 time. So for Hustler, Connor Rabchak, Michael Remis, thank you very much, everyone who's tuned in. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. for some more hockey discussion. Bye-bye.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.